Hello everyone and welcome to Student Hub Live. You're here with us in the studio today. We're actually in the library at Walton Hall and it's great to have you all with us. So this is our very special 10-year celebration and I've got some fantastic guests with me. Well, they're not really guests, they're actually part of the family. So just like to quickly introduce my fellow presenters. We've got Margaret, we've got Isabella, we've got Karen, and then, of course, your representatives, Jacob and Heidi, are going to be taking all the messages from you as we go through the whole show today. So keep involved, send us some messages and tell us what you're thinking. So I'm going to go straight over to Heidi and say, Heidi, who have we actually got with us at the moment? Who's joined us out there and who's sending messages in?
Good morning, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Obviously, I was only about 8 years old when Student Hub Live started 10 years ago. Yeah, so lovely to be here and to have Jacob as well, who's like the original hot desk manager. So I remember my training session with Jacob. So it's just so lovely to be working together today. So lots of people joining us in the chat. If you're new to using this system that we've got, you might find that the chat moves quite quickly. So there's a pin in the top right-hand side. If you click on that, it will slow down the chat and it will allow you to keep up with what everybody's saying at your own pace. We do ask that you don't share anything personal in the chat, if that's okay with you. So no email addresses or social media or anything like that, just for your privacy and well-being. So I've got a few hellos to say. So we've got Angela joining us in Maidenhead, who's studying DE 300, and I did have to Google that one. I'm not very good with remembering all of the qualification codes and then the actual name. So it's Investigating Psychology 3, that's what Angela's studying. We've got Jessica in Fareham in Hampshire, but originally from the Northeast studying A111. If you've been to Student Hub Live before, you'll know that I studied with the OU. I did all of my undergraduate, I did literature, so I did A111 and loved it. And we've also got Linda, who's also studying A111. We've got Emily, who's currently studying A215, and Emily lives in Bewdley in Worcestershire. And we've got lovely Tassie Faith joining us today. Hi, Tassie Faith. Tassie Faith says, Boridar, I'm coming to you live from my favourite dog cafe, not in the pub, in the cafe in Carmarthen this morning. Carmen, I'm joining you from Peterborough, and I'm studying E103 as well as E104, so doing two. And then we've got Sarah Louise from Carlisle, who is studying E104 to count towards a BSc in psychology and is in her first year. She says she's feeling fabulous as I've been able to get through the module materials and I'm really enjoying being back into student life, juggling it around my gorgeous family, which is lovely. And another one studying E104 is Alexandra, so good morning to you. And also we've got Pauline, who's studying B207 and B302, which are business modules. So welcome to everyone and enjoy the show.
Fantastic. B207, B302, they're both of mine. So if you're really unlucky, you might get to see me more than just on this show. So we've got Jacob with us as well. So Jacob, can you tell everyone how they can get involved and how you're planning on being a real pain during this session?
I don't need to plan it, it just happens. It's great to see everyone in the chat this morning. So everyone's been introducing themselves, and if you're just coming in, do introduce yourselves. Let us know where you're from, what you're studying, and just your thoughts, comments and questions. And Heidi and I will certainly put it to our fantastic guests here today. Yes, I'm here to cause a bit of trouble because 10 years, we have to play a game with everyone. So I've decided that today I would like to play Buzzword Bingo. So if you would help me with that, you'll see to your left of the chat bar, there's a widget where you can put in words, and any words that come up commonly will play Buzzword Bingo in. So, for example, anything to do with our favourite topic, which is chocolate. We've got one for bingo, and we'll see how far we can take this before everyone gets fed up on me. But help me out with that. Put some words in. If there's anything you need help with, we got our little help tab as well. Usually most things can be solved by refreshing the refresh button on your browser. And if you prefer to email us, we're at studenthub@open.ac.uk. I did remember that, it's been a while.
Well done. Yeah, well, I did actually bring a big car horn in for Jacob to use, but because we're in the library, it got confiscated and taken off me, so not so much fun. So So we're going to start our discussions now. I'm going to talk with Isabella and Karen. So our original presenters right back 10 years ago when we started. Thank you. That's going to get annoying very quickly. So right back where we started. So Isabella and Karen, we'll start with you, Karen. Student Hub Live, you were there right at the beginning. You were there when it was conceived. So what do you remember about the start? How did you manage to get the OU to actually give you a film crew and some time to spend just chatting with people and working with students?
Well, a colleague of mine and I started to do a project actually for teaching and learning in the social sciences, and we thought, wouldn't it be awesome to have like a live conference for students and academics? And so we set this up, and at the time, I mean obviously this was years and years ago, we went to the Knowledge Media Institute, which is just an awesome place at the OU where they do new things, and they had started this idea of streaming things live, which, you know, we forget how fast technology moves on, but that was just not something that happened very often. And they had all sorts of interfaces and things. And so we started to sort of build this program, and we started working with students, and Jacob was one of the students at the time. And we started to create things. And what was really, really interesting about it was that we had this chat to sort of come alongside these conferences and sort of talks that people were giving. And the interesting thing was that, you know, the students were getting just as much traction as the academics. In fact, our keynote talks were getting as much traction as like Jacob talking about video games with Benji and various other things that were going on at the time. And we realised that people talking alongside these things and interacting with things was actually what made this much more interesting than the information that people were giving. And so we then sort of started to think, how can we use some of this ideas to sort of really create some sort of community? And the Pro-Vice Chancellor Teaching and Learning at the time wanted to do an induction event for students because we had no way of inducting students and doing freshers things. So she said, can you try and do something like that? So a lot of the team here rocked up, and we had a bunch of students, and we just sort of created a program and went on air for hours without a huge amount of stuff going on, and created this community and way of doing things that was really different to what we thought it would be.
Fantastic, and it's amazing the way that it's grown, and 10 years on, we're still making it up as we go along. Thank you. I'm sure he's only picking on when I'm talking. But yeah, we're still making up as we go along. We're still bringing people in, responding to what students want. So, Isabella, as one of the early presenters, what do you remember most about those early days? Were you as calm and collected as you are now when you're presenting, or how did you get on in those first few years?
So it was interesting because Karen invited me. I think I applied for a position, didn't I, Karen? And it was like, if anybody's interested, and I went, well, I think I might be interested. And you went, yeah, okay. And we had a bit of a chat, and I was like, well, I really like doing essay writing. And you were like, I don't. Right, okay, then we'll talk about that. And then she went, well, should we start some online workshops? And I was like, yeah, okay, I know how to use the interface, that's fine, merrily. And we planned, and I came to campus, and I did these promotional videos, didn't we, about what was going to be good. And we were like, right, we're going to talk about essay writing, but we're not just going to tell you what we think. We want to know what you think about essay writing. So what helps? Because this idea of community is, we can tell you things, and where you were saying about academic things, it's, yeah, okay, you don't want to just go, I'm going to tell you what to do. What's worked for you, Karen? Okay, you know, that might work for me, that might not. So we planned these couple of essay writing things, and it was a Tuesday, and we used to do back-to-back ones, so we'd do one and then another. And I remember going to grab a glass of water, and when I went to get the glass of water, this was about 15 minutes beforehand, I think there was 80 people logged in. I came back and we had about 200 something, and we had 300, and we were like, and afterwards when we had the debrief the next day, so many emails, because it was this idea that so many people wanted to come along. They wanted to know. And that's what we've always been really passionate about in Student Hub Live, this community, and we can sell you ideas that have worked for us, because we're students, we're teachers, and we're whatever. But what's worked for you? And I think that's what's always been really popular about the workshops that we developed is, what do you want? And we used to have regular chats on the phone. You'd phone me up and you'd go, somebody's asked for this, can we do a workshop? And I was like, I don't know. And you'd go, right, I want you to do this, this and this. And I was like, okay, right. And I'd develop a workshop and I'd go, is this what you wanted? And you'd be like, that bit's okay. Don't like that bit. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I got very used to actualising. Do you remember? I used to use the word actualise quite a lot. But it really helped, because And it's the strength of Student Hub Live, because we see things as students. We think these things as students. Come on, Jacob. Our students gonna come
Say
on.
anthropomorphise. No, see?
Because they keep adding to it. They know what you're going to say now.
Okay, chocolate. You said chocolate. You know you can't rebuzz me because you said chocolate at the start. Thank you. I have to say chocolate. Yeah, and that's always part of it. But it's what do we learn from it? And we learnt so much, didn't we, as we were doing the things, because we were going, well, okay, right, this is what we thought was going to work. And then we'd just spend such a long time emailing and phoning going, that didn't work. That wasn't what we thought it was. Why wasn't it? Because we were thinking what we thought, and we were thinking what people would want. But was that what people wanted? So that's what we want to be very responsive, and that's what we've developed over the years we've been doing things, is actually, what have people asked for? Can you remember, what was the most bizarre thing people asked for? Can you remember when you were doing some of the lives?
Well, I think critical thinking was always the key one that everyone wanted. But like you say, it's a really hard thing to sort of teach, because once you know, like, the gist of it, you can go, oh yeah, that's critical, that's not. But until you know it, it's very hard to sort of do. And I think that's maybe what you're talking about, that scaffolding, is how to get sort of people having those light bulb moments. And this is what we were seeing, I think, in those Adobe workshops, is people going, oh, I get it. And it was helping people to arrive at that space where you're not telling them, they're seeing, and they're learning how to do it for themselves. And then once the penny drops, you can then know how to do it, and then you know it forever, and you don't unknow it, do you?
And you would do that to me, and you'd be going, and I'll be going, I don't know what you're talking about, Karen. I don't know what you're talking about, Karen. And you'd be going, and I'll suddenly go, now I know what you're talking about, Karen. Oh, okay, and that would work. Or sometimes I'd just be going, no, sorry. Brain's going, does not compute. Brain has not been fed chocolate. Brain's going, I don't know what you mean. But it's good, Rob. I don't know what you think as a student. Rob, are you a student? You're trying to hide and you're not answering. But what do you think? What have you learnt from being involved in it?
Well, I think the first thing I learned, so I've been involved for about 6 years. I was invited in as one of the guests, and I don't know whether this was a compliment or not, but when I was invited back the second time, they said, oh, we like having you on because you're not intimidating to the students. So I got the impression was, if that's what a tutor's like, I'll be all right then, which is fine, that's what I like. But one of the things I learned from Karen very early on was about the scripts and getting prepared, because we used to have those chats, what are you going to talk about? And I'd write out all this long detail that we're going to talk about, and then Karen just went with the flow. And I very quickly learned, throw your script behind you, get rid of the script, but know what you're going to talk about. And that's what I think I found out working with you guys is, it's not, and you've already said, it's not going where you think it's going to go. It's going where it leads, and talk about what people want to talk about. I've really enjoyed getting to know different groups as well. So there's a danger in the OU that you get quite siloed. So I'm from FBL, business school. We do things in a certain way. Other groups do it in slightly different ways. And working with Student Hub Live, I've had to learn different ways of doing things, that not everything, I mean, it's not correct, but not everything's done the business school way. They do things in weird ways. But it's appreciating that and appreciating the differences. So I think that's something I've picked up. And the range of guests that we get, they're all so generous, and we get some great guests coming in. Some of the students that we've had on that have come in and got involved in discussions, they've been fantastic. So no, we've had a really good, I've had a great experience, both as a guest and as a presenter on Student Hub Live, so it's been fantastic. As always, and I knew this was going to happen, you've already answered the questions I was going to ask you as we were talking, which is great, because I knew that was going to happen. The minute you're sitting there around the table with the rest of the presenters, that was great. So lovely to see some of the things that we've come up. The only thing I would add is, if you've got one standout moment over the last 10 years, what would it be? So Karen first. One thing that stands out, or one thing that you did that you thought, I really am glad we did that.
My favourite thing was we did an event with the law school, and we had a moot. and we had the students from the Open University Law Society, and we all dressed up, and we had this thing, and Jacob was in jail at the time, and we did this mooch, and I got completely lost in the script because I was trying to do so many other things, and I didn't really understand mooting, but we had a really, really good time, and I think everyone liked it at home, and it was nice just to show some of the stuff that, you know, the Students' Association do, and all be able to get together in real time and actually do something. So I think the moot has to be my absolute favourite thing, and of course I had a big curtain to dress up as a judge, because we used to dress up and do bits and bobs like that to get into character at the time, which I'm told now is not the way things are done. But anyway, it was great fun, and I think everyone really enjoyed it at home, and you know, how awesome to be able to see something like a moot. And the other thing that was great about that was that it wasn't just the law students who were there. You know, so many people were like, oh, law is so cool, and just to show people another side of things and to introduce people in a way to how different disciplines do stuff was really nice, because it was fun.
Absolutely. And Isabella, what's your standout?
I have to ask first, what is a moot?
Oh,
I have no idea.
It's where you like, oh, this is where I'll mess it up, and someone will probably tell us. In fact,
I only know from Lord
can
of the
someone
Rings.
just define a moot? I don't know if we've got any law students, maybe the business students can. It's basically where you sort of, you have a sort of a legal-based argument based on premises, and you sort of construct a narrative, rather like a sort of legal debating thing. That's probably a very bad definition. But the crux of it was that the students would prepare a case, so you'd be given a case. So
Right.
you'd sort of for fun go on a weekend, get a case, and then you'd have to prepare your lines of argument.
Oh,
I
right.
think I'll probably be corrected.
Well, the interesting thing about a moot is they try and give you a question to argue that there isn't really a right or a wrong answer, so it's just based on how well you can argue it. And actually, we had a really good time with that. I must say that the curtain was a highlight. We did get told off, though, because apparently we don't use gavels in this country.
Yeah.
So I remember us getting told off for that. But we can be excused. It was all theatrics.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. So, Isabella, your favourite?
I'm not going to go anything like that. I think the favourite thing for me overall is learning from students, and the fact I'm not going to preempt later questions, because we'll talk about this later, but learning from students and developing sessions with students, because whilst I'm a student, I've been a student for quite a long time, and I'm not necessarily a new student, so I can't remember what it was like to be a new student. So constantly being told and learning, like, this is actually what you need to know, and this is what actually we don't know, and this is what the university does well, and this is what the university doesn't do well. Because yeah, I know that's not very exciting compared to yours, but I think it's not a single standout, but it's just what I've learnt from.
But I think it's important as well, because it's what we get out of it. So
Yeah.
we don't just do this because it's part of our job. We do it because we get something back as well.
And I think actually that's what I'm going to pull out. It is a buzz. It's such a buzz. When we used to come into the studio when I was doing things with you, Karen, I'd be like, oh, afterwards. But now with the things, it's the enthusiasm. And as a tutor, I don't know whether you get this as well, but sometimes it's like, what are we doing? Well, we're trying to encourage students to do their assessment, and we're marking and what I haven't got right. And it can get a bit like, not so particularly enthralling at times, but Student Hub Live gives you that buzz of the enthusiasm and this is why we do it. This is why it's useful. And I sort of realised that a couple of weeks ago, and I've now banged on about it to anybody that would listen. I was like, get involved, because you know what, you'll get your buzz back. Why are you doing this in the first place?
But it's true, because I actually did a doctorate on Student Hub Live, and as part of that I analysed huge amounts of the chat. So Jacob, I was seeing exactly what you were doing. And what I think was really interesting is that, you know, for so many students, they're really anxious, they really want to do their work, they've got all this other stuff going on in their life. They don't have time to mess around and have fun and talk about chocolate or, you know, and sometimes, you know, we'd have students going, I'm so stressed out.
Yeah.
The last thing I need is you guys sitting there going on about chocolate. Chocolate doesn't matter. Where is my assignment? And how am I supposed to do this? And I think one of the things that I'd seen from the chat and learned is that, you know, when people are isolated, which we know is a thing in distance learning, when you get together, when you're in real time and you say, you're worried too, you don't know where this is, oh, hey, you do know where that is, and you see other people and you have fun together, you can relax.
Yeah.
And, you know, Angela's always said, this to me, that's where the real learning is.
Yeah.
It's hard for people who are really stressed beyond to sit down and go, yeah, sure, I'm going to go and hang out with a bunch of people I don't know on the internet and talk about chocolate. But actually, it's those things then that, that mean that you can relax. They mean you can engage with your studies. You can then sort of say, okay, well, let's just make a plan and do these things. And that, I think, is something that's so unspoken. Rather like, doing a warm-up before you go for a run and stuff. That kind of stuff doesn't show, but it really, really matters in terms of how you can feel about something and what your output then is.
Yeah, I think that's really right. When I was doing a high-intensity study workshop, Kit was one of our student guests, and the first thing he said is plan in rests. Mm-hmm. And people go, no, why would you plan in rests? Because if you study the whole time, if you pull an all-nighter all the time, Jacob's nodding here. How many all-nighters did you know? I've been there, done that. But then you go, it takes the fun out of it. Why are you learning? Why are you choosing to do this? Actually, because you want to, and you're going to get something out of it. And you know what? Having a bit of a silly discussion. They're not all silly discussions, just for everybody that's new. We do actually talk about real stuff. We have lots of very, very useful skills, but we do that in this relaxed, and you taught me that in the first place. Be relaxed, be personable, be fun.
And I'm saying, what you don't see at home is I've got an iPad in front of me where Angela's sending me messages and the font gets bigger and bigger if I ignore her. At the moment, we're at 147 point font, which says that Heidi's got some points from the students. So we're going to come back to this conversation in a minute. So, Heidi, what we're hearing out, what are people saying?
We are getting some lovely comments and such great feedback in the chat, which is just so lovely. I'm really, really enjoying it. So some feedback on presenters. So Tazzy says, Margaret, one of our presenters, gives off super fun teacher vibes. And that's the type that is a sub-teacher that lets you get away with all sorts of different things. Catherine says, the presenter's enthusiasm and humour on Student Hub Live is infectious. And I've got a couple of comments directed at Isabella. They are positive though, Isabella, don't worry. So Lindsay says, I have a bone to pick with you, Isabella. Isabella has got me addicted to fingerless gloves. I already have 6 pairs. They do help when my hands are cold to motivate me to study nonetheless. I still blame her for my current addiction. And Karen says she agrees with Lindsay because Isabella has got her hooked on chocolate. She never used to eat that much and now she does. So there you go, Isabella.
Oh, so even Heidi's getting the buzzer.
I think I'm with Tony though. White chocolate all the way.
No,
Can't have any of all this dark
no,
chocolate nonsense. Eh?
Oh, goodness me. Somebody's going to mention Caramac and we're going to go off on one. So if you haven't been involved in Isabella's chocolate debates, then watch out for those in some other sessions. So thank you guys for your comments. Great to hear from you. But now we're going to hear a little bit from Heidi and Jacob. So as our chat moderators, they are your representatives, but they're also our lifelines. They look after us. I'm going to come to Heidi first. So Heidi, we've been working together now for a few years and you've pulled me out of a few scrapes. Tell me some of the memorable things for you, some of the things where perhaps things didn't go quite right or things that moved you while we've been working together.
Yeah, sure. So it's been just over 2 years since I started doing Student Hub Live, and I absolutely love it because obviously I started off as a student, then I'm back as a student again now, so I'm actually doing my PhD, so I've started that a week ago, so I'm back being an OU student, which is amazing, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Very different experience as a PhD student to being undergrad or postgrad, but really enjoying it. The most memorable incident I had on Student Hub Live, which really kept me on my toes. It was one of those mornings where you just come into the show and you've had your cup of tea and you think, oh, okay, everything's all lined up, everything's looking good, great. And it was with lovely Isabella. I was supporting Isabella with the show, and it was the Storm Agnes day. And Storm Agnes decided to completely take out Isabella's connection. So we were about 10 minutes into the show, and Storm Agnes took Isabella off air, so I had to hop in and essentially try my very best to do Isabella's role, and it went on for about 45 minutes, I think, and then we managed to get Isabella back. It was kind of an on and off connection. So I think Storm Agnes is definitely one of the most memorable moments. But in terms of moving incidents, so many of the comments and the stories that are shared by our students move me. I'm a very emotional person anyway, so it doesn't take much to make me cry. But some of the stories of resilience and overcoming adversity and the bravery and courage that it takes to start an OU degree, I find really, really inspiring. So there's just too many examples to draw on, but those that have particularly overcome health problems or have been going through a divorce, for example, and that have used their OU studies as such a positive way to bring them through that experience. So yeah, there's just too many to count really, Rob.
Oh, thank you, Heidi. And you've rescued me a couple of times. The incident where I trod on the mic and unplugged it and didn't realise, and everybody was trying to tell me that they couldn't hear me, but we got there in the end. So Jacob, so I always think of you as the naughty one in the room. So what's your favourite memory? What's your, as the chat moderator, what stands out for you?
I think, oh gosh, the thing is, when it's been 10 years of Student Hub Live, there's a lot that's gone on. I think everyone knows how I like my study snacks, biscuits all the way, and everyone knows how I can be easily influenced as well. So I may not have had support of everyone in the studio, but having the encouragement to grab maybe a few extra biscuits from the table from everyone in the chat was definitely welcome from my front, especially when you're chatting away all day. I mean, the brain burns so many calories, you have to keep going. So I don't think it's me that's naughty. I think I'm just easily encouraged by everyone in the chat, and that's what I'll say about that one.
And I'm sure that you're posting some messages encouraging some sort of behaviour that perhaps we won't appreciate as a presenter, but that's fine. We could work on that. So I know for me that as we've gone through, not everything's gone right, but sometimes those are the interesting ones where you have a guest and they've got this long list of things you're going to talk about, and then something comes up and there's a question and you just completely go off topic. But for me, those are the times when it really goes well. And we ask those really awkward questions, not deliberately awkward, you don't try and catch people out, but those really important questions that we go through. And I've remembered a few of those and being asked a few of those as well. So we've had a quick look back at the last few years, and you'll notice not many of our sessions now are like this. We don't get to meet together physically. It's a real treat for us as a group to meet together and to talk. COVID put paid to a lot of the live interaction that we had, but it opened the doors up. It gave us a whole new area that we could explore, and we were introduced to the remote studio. And yes, it's not as nice when you're sat in your own little shed talking, but actually it means we can get more people in. We can invite a lot more guests, and we can have a lot more events. So it's been a real blessing in a way that the remote Student Hub Live has enabled us to do a lot more work over the last few years. So we're going to talk now about the way that we've moved on and some of the things that we're doing now. And we've got Margaret and Isabella with us, and Margaret and Isabella run some of our special groups for students. So we've started, in response to what students have asked us for, to look at specific groups that we can support and we can help. So I'm going to come to you first, Margaret. So tell us about some of the groups that you work with, so some of our special Student Hub Live sessions that you work with.
Well, I've been supporting the chat for the neurodiverse students, and it's really interesting to see a different perspective, because you go through life seeing things in one way, and then other people are seeing things in a different way, and you're kind of thinking, well, that's new to me. I didn't know people saw things in that way. And so, and particularly being in the chat, that their responses to, because Isabella interviews another student, and their feeling of, oh, that's somebody like me, and they didn't realise there were other people like them. And I really think that our community sessions that is the biggest aspect. I'm not alone. There's another person out there, at least one, who's like me. And I think for me that's the biggest thing about the community events that we do, is that aspect of, yes, there's somebody else that does this, and also somebody else that's got a different way of doing it that I could borrow. You know, they've talked about their struggles with learning, but then they also talk about, well, I struggled with my learning, but then I found this way that really worked for me. And that sharing of these ideas, not just from the guest, but also the people in the chat are also saying, well, I discovered this and this worked for me. And that aspect of that social sharing of all these wonderful ideas that people know about, but they didn't realise that it would help other people. And suddenly they're helping other people, and that makes them feel really good because they're helping other people as well as learning new things themselves. So for me, the groups that we have, like the carers and the neurodiverse, and I think we've got a new one this year on disability as well, they're all about the aspect of that appreciating they're not alone, and also that they have got something to offer to the rest of the community.
Yeah.
And I know, Isabella, that you weren't an expert on the neurodiverse community when we started doing these, but your sessions now are fantastic. How did you develop those sessions? What did you do to get them ready? Because I wouldn't have had a clue.
So in all honesty, it started because I had neurodiverse students on my books and I didn't know how to support them, and I would come off phone calls with my students in tears and phone up my manager and say, I don't know what to do. I want to help this student. And I'm a solutionizer. It's like where we were talking about actualising before. I want to try and help. That's what I'm here for. And I just didn't know what to do. So originally I think I had to chat with you, Karen, about it, saying, could we do this? And we weren't sure initially. And then eventually it was like, yeah, we can start doing this. So I took myself off. I did a bunch of extra training, but I always went, I don't know. But what I do know is students know. So where, Margaret, you were saying about the sharing idea, that's what I did. And I thought, well, I don't want to develop this saying what I think you should do, because I don't know.
Yeah.
She said it's a different way. So I went from the start, right, we're going to develop these with guests, and I'm going to get the guests. And basically what we do is have a chat with the guests. We have a meeting and they will share things at work. And I'll say, right, okay, so do you think this would be a good thing to share with other people? Great. Okay, so how can we phrase this? And then how can we make sure that we're then asking everybody else that's watching? That obviously always gives Margaret loads to deal with, because I always ask these questions she has to deal with. Yeah. But it's not just about us saying, this is what you should do, where you were talking about this, oh, this is not what a tutor's like, or this is not what an academic. I've never seen myself as an academic lecturer. That might be my job title, associate lecturer, but I'm not. I'm a tutor. I'm there to help people find themselves, to develop themselves. I bang on about study journey, but we're all on our own study journey. That's not about, nobody's going to buzz me on that one. So nobody thinks study journey. I obviously need to bang on about it more.
What's in the bingo? I don't think
Got to get loads of study journey.
Got away with that one.
Yeah, I did. I got away with it. But it is because we're all so different. Yes, we all have bits that are the same. So Margaret and I work the same way in some things, and we work in totally different ways in others. And I go, right, okay, Margaret will say to me, that doesn't make sense, and I'll read it and I go, okay, I knew what it meant in here. And I think that's one of the things about working with the different groups and working with students, whether neurodiverse, whether not, whatever, is we all know what's going on in here, and we assume that everybody else, their what's going on in here works in the same way, and it doesn't, does it? And there are some overlaps. And I think working with students, getting students to share what actually does and doesn't work for them. Because actually, you know what, there's nothing wrong with saying this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because we all have to do that. Yeah. And I just think my headphones just got... can't hear anything you're saying that. Well, I can hear you because you're near me. I can't hear Heidi. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with being wrong. Mm-hmm. I think that's another thing that's actually quite useful. And I think, not saying that we've been wrong in Student Hub Live, but we've always been ready to be responsive. And I think that's why we developed these sessions, is because what were people asking us for? We used to ask lots of questions. Initially, we did them in polls and saying, what would you like us to do? And that data was there. And then we started actually really, really capturing it properly and going, right, what do you want us to do?
Yeah.
Okay, and we've got these lovely things that Kat developed. Kat's our project assistant. She does brilliant artistry. The You Asked, We Did.
Yep.
And what do people keep asking us for? And we want to be responsive. That was what we did originally, Karen, wasn't it? That was they used to phone me up going, we've been asked to do this. How are we going to do this? I was like, I don't know. You tell me some things and we'll develop something out of it. But it's community, isn't it? It's community. It's the what would help students. What would I have loved? I would have loved this when I was a student starting out. When I did my undergraduate, I had nothing like this. When I started with my masters with the OU, no, had nothing like this. And that was back in the days. The OU library is wonderful. You do not know how wonderful the OU library is. Back in the day, every journal was a separate login. Every different thing was a separate login. And you're going, I don't know whether I've looked in this one. So those of you who are doing postgraduate, it's fab, the OU library, fabulous. Sorry, I'm just going to go on a bit because I'm sat in the OU library and I can see him standing here. But it used to be so hard to develop the skills and go, well, I don't know. And there was nobody saying, like you were saying, there was nobody there going, actually, we could do that. And the idea of having a freshers for the OU. Wow. I mean, we're the biggest university in the UK, aren't we, in student numbers? But we didn't have anything like that. It's just, sometimes that really makes your head go, pshoo, doesn't it?
I know. Because, so many OU students have said, I saw someone on the train and they had an OU book, or you see these things and you think, actually, it's something like 170,000 people are studying undergraduate with the OU, which is phenomenal. It's absolutely massive. It's touched so many people's lives with so many different things, and anyone can do it. It's just the most awesome institution, and yet so many people just feel like they're the only one, and they feel like they're the only one not getting it. And how are you supposed to get something you don't understand? I mean, sure, microfiche and all those old systems of filing. I remember teaching with overhead projectors and those pens.
I'm going to get the wrong
rubbing
pen
them out with
I'd lean on them.
Yeah.
And the smart boards that never worked. You could never get the pen.
And now everything's almost a bit too techy. So no wonder everyone's confused.
So I've just noticed there seems to be one biscuit left on Jacob's desk. Does it
go? Someone challenged me to see how many biscuits I can eat. I had to leave one for everyone else, though.
Has it got chocolate on the other side for Isabella?
That's how it stuck to the desk. We did ask. We did have a poll asking which interest groups students might be interested in joining or taking part in. So Heidi, do you want to talk us through some of those results?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, Rob, we were asking people to provide their feedback. We've had some really, really lovely comments in the chat, which I'm just going to share in a second. But in terms of which of the following special groups interest our students the most. So number one, the neurodiverse community. So very, very popular. Again, it always does this. It moves as I'm talking, as people start playing around with the widgets. So that's still number one. Students with disabilities, and then student carers community. So we're getting some really, really lovely comments about how much of a support these sessions have been for our students. Lindsay said, I'm Lindsay from Wigan. I'm 51. I've been studying on and off with the OU for 12 years. Lindsay has ADHD and dyslexia and loves the OU, and especially after getting a guided tour around the Milton Keynes campus on Freshers Week, which is great. So Lindsay came down to have a tour of the campus, which was brilliant, and so glad to hear that you enjoyed that, Lindsay. Lindsay says, having dyslexia and ADHD means I can't process things at a normal pace, so being able to pause and rewind the videos while I make notes is really great, and it also makes you feel connected like part of a community, which is wonderful. Joshua says, I love how the OU has the most disabled students out of any other university I know, and that is correct, Joshua. We do have the highest number of disabled students out of any UK university. And Joshua says, I love how the OU facilitates studying for their disabled students. Jessica says, this is exactly why I love watching these sessions, because sometimes it's nice to know you're not alone in your way of thinking as a neurodiverse person. Being ADHD, FND, and potentially autistic, it's a hard slog trying to get your brain to do what you want it to do. But the sessions on neurodivergent students are so helpful to learn different tactics to try and see if they work. Donna says the carer sessions are absolutely brilliant. It's so helpful to know that there are other people doing a degree with the same struggles and we can support each other. And then finally, Sarah Louise says, I love how the OU is inclusive to all. It's a unique community which I feel is so important for personal growth and development.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, one of the things I took away from Isabella's session for neurodiverse students is don't assume you know what people need. The biggest piece of advice I took as a tutor is ask people, they will tell you. And that comes back at you guys as well. If you need something, don't sit back and think that we know, because quite often we'll have some ideas, we'll have some suggestions, but you're the people that really know what you need. So talk to your tutors about it. Just thinking back, and we were talking about when things went wrong earlier, and Andrew did a fantastic job of putting together a blooper reel, which I completely mistook, so that's me not reading my thing properly. So we're going to go back and we're going to show you some of the times when we've been running Student Hub Live and things either haven't gone quite to plan. The one that stands out for me is I was very proud of my new LED lights that I put up in my office in the garden, and it was, I thought sticking them up with the sticky pads was a good idea, till they swung down halfway through a student live session, bouncing off my head numerous times. And I think you might see that in the next few seconds. So we're just going to take a minute or two just to see where things didn't quite go right in Student Hub Live.
Really nice, excellent, well done.
Oh, that was amazing. I'm really hoping we get ninjology, because we haven't had ninjology questions yet, and that's always a fun one, isn't it?
Yes, well, ninjology is the study of ninjas, random bonus point questions.
Now, we actually have another guest with us today who I don't think has studied for very long at all. And because it's Friday night, we have got a knight with us. And now I'm pretty sure that he hasn't studied much at all. But anyway, he's no studying, no studying from the night. But anyway, so I think those of you, night school. Okay, he does night school apparently. Right, fair enough. Come on, let's show Jacob and his cake. Does anybody want to vote for
This is my cake. I'm very proud of it. And then I saw Vanessa's lineup. So I'm not mine. No, it's not. It doesn't have the same. It looks more like a big pancake.
Oh. You too?
Sorry, we're having a.
Sorry, Paul, you can't take them anywhere. They're ridiculous.
We've got lots of different things and lots of ways where you can connect to other students, whether.
Oh dear, we seem to have lost Isabella. Oh, we've got a little bit of a technical issue at the moment.
And we're going to be talking about the School of Physical Sciences Open Day on Thursday. So what we need to know is it going to be as good as this, and will you have cake and biscuits?
It will be far better than this, of course.
I think we got Isabella back then for a little bit, but I think we might have lost her again. So I'm sorry, Chris. I think we're going to carry on a little bit of a Q&A with you and me, if that's okay, Chris, just to put you on the spot some more. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay.
And we're out of time, sorry.
Thank God for that.
Very well. And I think that we've got Isabella back now. I think we've managed to sort out our technical issues. Hi, Isabella. Have we got Isabella back? Not quite yet. No.
I think I can hear you.
I can hear her. The dulcet sounds of Isabella. Are you there? I don't know if this is the Storm Agnes.
Because I mentioned about Storm Agnes, and I think Agnes is. I think it is. I don't know if you can think Agnes is doing.
It's like boiling a frog in a saucepan. If you put the frog in a boiling water, it will scream and shout and try to get out. If you put a frog, I've not tried it myself, folks. I don't advise you doing it. When you study at second level, you will be boiled to death without knowing it, unless, of course, an asteroid hits the Earth and Bruce Willis isn't available to come to our rescue.
And I think we've got Isabella back. She's back from the depths of Storm Agnes. I think she's back with us. Thank goodness. Here she is. Lovely to see you.
So. Thank you. It's lovely to be back. It all went very much haywire for a while, and I was frantically pressing buttons and going, Agnes, just because I mentioned you might be mean, you can't be mean to me. I'm so sorry, everybody.
That's good. Even if I do say so myself.
Excellent. And I think the Orcs want to show us their slight variation.
There we are. They're hearts from little furry animals. The little cats are nice. They're dropping them in. Okay, I think that's enough hearts, orcs. And then instead of strawberry juice, there it is. We've got the congealed blood of hobbits.
And it's a simple thing. You don't need to memorize anything because all the guidance is there for you to use. I think we've lost Rob.
Goodness me, it's the microphone gremlin. But what I was saying, before Heidi was about to leap in and rescue me, way that I get students to do referencing correctly, develop that.
We lost you again, Rob.
Rob, we've lost you again there with your sound.
If you are submitting multiple ones, it's quite nice as a tutor to know there's another one coming, so we don't mark ahead of time. But oh, look at that! That's my light. Angela's laughing in the background now. Light's just fallen off and plonked me on the head. So hopefully you enjoyed that. We've been laughing around the sofa, just looking at some of the things that we've got up to over the recent years. Yeah, it's good to see how we can bounce back and control. And we keep coming back, so we can't be that bad. We enjoy ourselves. So one of the things about Student Hub Live is it's not just about the academic side. It's not just about the study skills and writing essays, writing assignments. It's also about the broader community. And thank you. So it's about feeling part of something large. And we work quite closely with USA, and hopefully you all know about USA, the OU Student Association. And we had Pete with us last week at the end of Freshers Week, and I know USA, I think it's their Freshers Week this week, or have they just finished their Welcome Week?
I think it was last week, because it was a week after ours.
Yeah, so I think USA have just had their welcome session. And the reason I'm raising USA and highlighting them is it's an opportunity for you as students to get involved. Why don't you go and take part in some of their events? They do purely social events, not linked to any modules, not linked to any sort of studies, but purely for being part and getting that university experience. They also give you lots of opportunities to volunteer. I like to see the students on the USA stand when we go to the graduations, and they're there looking after us and making sure that everything's going well. So, in terms of students getting involved, I'll come to you, Margaret, because you haven't had a buzzer for a while, so let's get Margaret a buzzer. How have you seen students involved outside of their modules, outside of their studies? What sort of things do people get involved in?
I think one of the really nice things is study buddies. So students from previous years run a forum to help out students that are incoming. And it's that sharing of that knowledge of, be careful of this bit of the course, it's a bit rough, and, ask your tutor when you get to this point, and just being somebody to say, yeah, it was tough, but I got through. There is another side, you can get through the other side. So that's one of the roles that a lot of students get involved with as they move forward through their course. They can become a study buddy for other students. It's the only times I can get the buzzer. See if I can break the bank.
Absolutely. It'd be interesting to know, actually, if any of you out there are study buddies, if you are supporting other students, let us know. Send Jacob and Heidi a message. Tell us about your experience of supporting some of the other students. So, Isabella, how have you seen students involved? What have they done that's outside the normal? Let's say how many buzzes.
I think you cheating doing a buzz every time I say student. Because after all,
I don't make the rules. I'm sorry.
You don't
You
make
do
the rules.
make the rules.
You do make the rules.
And you change them.
Yeah. So the student buddy seat, I think some modules they call them study buddies, some modules they call them student buddies, sometimes
different things,
there's all sorts of different terminology, but yeah, it's a really good idea, and I've seen it in some of mine, and they have some, they just call them buddying. So I think that's a lovely idea, and getting involved in OOSA groups, so Open University Students Association groups. If there isn't one that you want to be involved in, or rather if there isn't one and you want one, ask them, because I think there used to be a neurodiverse student group and then there wasn't one, but I believe that it may be starting again, because if people want it, and if you want a triathlon group, looking at Karen, she doesn't mention that one yet, go, you know what, I'm that mad person that wants to do all of this at the same time. If you want a dark chocolate appreciation student group, that's always beneficial. I will step back, I won't automatically host that, but you never know. But yes, the Students Association, but also in all seriousness, within our groups, what I found really good is getting students involved and designing sessions alongside students and having them as guests. And Karen used to do this when it was live in the studio back in the day, when you had the whole days. And I don't know how you used to manage to do the whole day's worth. It's hard enough doing an hour and a half session. But I think, and it's going back to when I started doing the neurodiverse community work, somebody said to me, you won't find students who want to share their experiences. You won't find they won't know anything about their insight. And I was like, okay, well, we'll give it a go. And they do. You know what works for you. I'm going to talk out the camera now, because even though there's nobody behind the camera, so it's really weird. But you know what works for you. You know what to share it with other people. Get involved. I do the plugs. I do them actually in every single session I do now, saying, if you want to get involved, email in. There's been some fantastic people that have emailed in and said, actually, here's my experiences. Some people have shared. Some people have said, actually, you know what, I don't want to come on camera, but I really do want to share my experiences. Can you build this into a workshop? If there's something that works for you, shout about it. If you don't know about something, ask. Rob said about this earlier. As tutors, you know when we send you... Oh, good. I'm glad tutors have come up.
Tutors get a bell.
Yeah, we get a bell. When we send out that welcome letter that says, if there's anything that's going to impact your study, let us know. We actually do want to know. We don't want to know to go, oh, that's bad.
Watch out for that one.
Yeah, exactly. Like that orky thingy that we were watching, or whatever it was. It might not have been an orchid. I don't know. Some random thing from Made Up as Dan World. Sorry, I'm very rude down that. But say. Because we don't know all the answers. I said earlier I'm a solutionizer and I'm an actual, and I want to know the answers. But I feel like I've got this massive Rolodex, and I know Margaret has this brilliant list of links, and she adds to them all the times where she's found things. And I know I can always rely on her to find these things. I feel like I've got this like a, not that my memory's that good, but a Rolodex in my head of, this student has said this and it works. Okay, you know what? I'm going to mention it to somebody else. Did you find that, Karen, that you sort of kept pulling in different things and learning?
I think one of the things is that so many people would come to something and they think, oh, the tutor will tell us everything, they know the answers. And actually, everyone in the room knew the answers because they'd sort of found things. And it was often the most profound things that you hadn't even thought about. Like I remember once someone said, they were talking about study, and they said, oh, I've got a little thing at the end of my kitchen table and I just fold it up and that's my desk, and I fold it down and that's not. And it was something that just sort of was like, wow, that's such an awesome idea. I could do that too, because I don't have any space at home to study and I don't feel like I've got a proper desk. And that's something nobody academically could say, oh, by the way, if you have a folder, that's boring. But for people, sort of suggesting those solutions, or how I've got my space, where I've got it, and how it's an emotional space as well as a physical space, really mattered. And those things are not something you don't go, I'm going to go to a session to find out how I can create a space in my house. But it's just that stuff that comes up that then people know about, and then that's where the value of talking to other people and sort of saying stuff is.
Yeah, I think Charlotte shared in one of the things about pen grips, and I thought, Margaret, you've tried them, haven't you? And I thought, I never thought about that, because I remember years ago at school in a parents' evening, my mum was told Isabella has really bad handwriting and she doesn't hold the pen properly, and I was thinking, basically, in the vernacular, and I was like, well, I just write too quickly, but even just a little tiny practical thing of you could do this. Or I remember Tazzy was saying, getting the folders for the year And there was lots of sharing of where you could get the folders for cheap. You don't have to go out and spend loads of money, and that's fine, but actually going, this is my folder for the year. There you go, I'm a student. Or, I know, Rob, you did the getting my student discount card, getting the totem card, or getting like that, and now I'm a student. No, no. You see, that's not going to come up as a buzzer because nobody's going to suggest blooming McFlurries. Sorry, I'm so rude to you. Every time you mention McFlurries, I go, oh, sorry.
It's the only thing they gave you free at McDonald's, that was all.
Did they? Okay.
Yes.
See, I don't go to McDonald's. Doesn't but anyway.
But yes, you've got to get your discounts. And yeah, that sharing of tips between students is amazing, because we've got a lot of experience between us, but we haven't got all the experience. We're just a group, and with everybody combined, we've got such a big resource. And every time we do the note-taking and the time management sessions, we always learn something new. So I always go away with thinking, oh, I'll note that down. So it's a suggestion that's come in from somebody that's responded, give us some ideas. So let's have a quick look and see what we're hearing from you. So what sort of things have you been involved in? What sort of communities have you been with? So we'll go to Heidi first, and then if Heidi leaves Jacob anything to say, we'll go to Jacob. Don't leave him much, because he's got the buzzer and he's being mean with it.
I need somebody to go and put McFlurry in the chat there so that the bell can go. We've had a few people asking, actually. I think people that have joined a little bit later into the session today that are saying, can you hear a bell? There's a few people saying, I can hear something. And yeah, just to explain, that's our fun bingo game that's running throughout. So those that have put their words into the word cloud, that's Jacob's job to ring the bell each time that comes up. So we're playing kind of a word bingo throughout this session, so just to explain to people why there is that bell noise. So some really lovely feedback coming in then, Rob, continuing to come in throughout the show. So Karen says, hello everyone, Student Hub Live has been great in my 5 years at the OU, now in my last year. Congratulations, Karen. It's the best feeling ever when you know it's the final year and you're so close, and your graduation day is going to be phenomenal. So well done. I know how much work's gone into that. Jessica says, I love Student Hub Live. I binge watch a lot of the recordings on YouTube, so that's great. Charlotte says, will you do any more Friday night socials? So yes, we do have lots of other Friday night socials planned, don't we, Rob? Lots of them coming up over the course of the year.
Definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. And Jenna says, first time on one of these Student Hub Live sessions, I'm studying TM112. And Emily very kindly did put in the chat, said, for first timers like Jenna, presenters don't usually wear party hats with balloons and bunting, so please don't be scared. And then Anthony has asked, Anthony would really like to come to the Milton Keynes campus, and has said, can you just rock up to the Milton Keynes campus and have a little look around? Well, the library is always open, Anthony, yes, and we have freshers events. A number of students in the chat have been sharing their experience of coming onto campus for their freshers tour, and unfortunately it was timed with bad flooding, so lots of people sharing their experiences of trying to get to campus. So yeah, lots of love and positivity in the chat going on, Rob.
Yeah, and obviously the USA team, they plan lots of events, both on the campus and around the country. So if you want to meet up with other students, not for any study purposes, not for any academic purposes at all, just to meet with other students and have a bit of fun, get in touch with USA and they will tell you when the events are, and you'll be able to go and join those as well. So thank you for that, Heidi. And Jacob, anything you'd like to add, anything you picked up from the chat?
There were a couple of nice comments earlier that made me think about why I love Student Hub Live so much. So, no, that's my buzzer. You can't do that. I make the rules, remember? But Julia said earlier that it's the feeling and knowledge that others feel the same as you. Hey! As a mature retired student, I lack confidence in my own ability at times, and joining sessions such as SHL really help. And Helena said as well, in a similar vein, I really like studying, especially now that I'm at the OU, because it's an inclusive university and it's never too late to do what you want, and there's always an open door. And I think that's the great thing about us all being part of the OU community, is these shared experiences, because although we may be at different stages in our study journeys, studying different things, we all know the dread of you got the TMA email in and you just want to close your eyes while you open up the result. We all know that feeling. We all know the feeling of feeling like you're cutting a bit close on sending that TMA in, or you're not quite getting something. And that's the great thing. And that's why it's really exciting when you see someone with their OU books on the train, because you know exactly what they're feeling. You don't have to talk about it. You just know, and you can instantly click and bond over that shared feeling. And that's why I really like Student Hub Live, and I definitely agree it's inclusive, and knowing that other people are feeling the same as you makes it really great for me.
Yeah, and I know what you mean, because I mean, obviously I'm a very shy person. I don't talk to people much, but when I used to study on the train, so I used to take my books on the train. Actually, I used to do marking on the train, so I'd sit there with all the books open. But if people were OU students and they saw your books, they'd come and sit down, they'd have a chat, and it was lovely. And I've had many an enjoyable train journey just talking about studies and what we get up to. So yeah, keep your eyes open. So what I want to do now is just talk about our current team. So around the group here, you've got 4 of us who are part of the current Student Hub Live team. So obviously got Jacob and Karen, who very welcome guests that pop in very frequently, and not enough in my view. But the regular team is made up of a gang of people, and we're going to tell you a little bit about some of them now. So Margaret, have you got your have you remembered this with your fantastic memory, or do you need a reminder? So we've got Rafa. So tell us a bit about Rafa, or Hafa.
He used to run his own English school, so his English is better than ours, despite the fact that he's Brazilian. He's also into directing plays. I think he's done about 27 plays as director. And he now lives in Britain. He likes to walk his dog. And he's just got back from a trip with his family, so he's all ready and raring to go for the year. Yeah,
well, not quite a trip with his family, because he tore a ligament and couldn't go, so he spent his holiday sat on the sofa. So he should have been on holiday. But yeah, Hafa's the person that drives us around and tries to make me plan.
He's the one that the students have least contact with, because he's kind of the guy that organises a lot of it. So he kind of he's there occasionally, but usually it's sort of Kat is the one that students get to know a little bit better.
And then we've got Kat. So if you send an email into Student Hub Live, you'll be sending it into Kat. So Kat's, I'm quite sure, project assistant. I
don't know what job title is.
I don't know what I was going to call her then. But Kat's our project assistant. Kat used to sing in a rock band many years ago. But Kat's the person that puts all of your study buddy pictures together and brings them in. And then we've got the 3 presenters. So what are you going to tell us about Isabella? So let's see if you get it right. Isabella, you can tell us if we get this right.
She likes chocolate.
Yes.
Oh, I got buzzing for that one. She's got an allotment where she grows lots of lovely vegetables. And she does reenactments.
I do.
And she's been with the OU for quite a while now. I won't tell you how many years.
It will be 20 years in January.
Yeah. Okay. I think quite a few of us have been around a while. Yeah, so that's a little bit about Isabella.
So I'll talk about, so Isabella's one of our 3 presenters. Yep. I'm another one, so I've been with the OU since 1995 I started as a student. So that's 29 years. That's going on a bit now. And I know you can't believe it, but I'm a granddad, and spent a lot of time just. This has got me into making videos and things at home, so I quite like making videos in the shed. But I enjoy that part. So what about you, Margaret? Because Margaret's the 3rd of the presenters that you bump into on Student Hub Live. So, and
I'm just wondering how many buzzers I'm going to get now.
We're ready.
Go for it.
Well, I've got sort of 3 main hobbies. I of course count the OU as a hobby, although I get paid for it. I enjoy it so much. So I bake scones. Oh, didn't get one for that one. I do lots of Lego models. So the current one is a massive air sea rescue. And I also row. And so I've just last month did a world record again with some of my mates. So so I've been busy at that. So lots of other things outside the OU.
World record holding rower.
Yeah, that's it.
And Heidi, rather than us, so you've introduced yourself, Heidi. So do you want to say a little bit about you? So the sort of stuff that you get up to, and then we'll talk about our supporting team as well.
Yeah, sure. So I think most people probably know I studied with the OU, absolutely loved the Open University, and then I went off, and I think one of my really big achievements, I think, was I did my master's. I did choose a different university, but it's only because I wanted to specialise. It's not because I don't love the OU. I've come back again to do my PhD. But one of my biggest achievements was getting a distinction for my master's. So it took me 2 years. I did criminology, race, crime and justice. And I've been able to then build on that to get a scholarship through the Economic and Social Research Council. So it's through the Grand Union Doctoral Training Partnership to get a fully funded scholarship then at the Open University. So to do my PhD over the next 3.5 years. So yeah, just a little bit of an update on me. But I've also, I come from a long line of OU studiers. So my mum was also an OU grad, and my sister as well. So I grew up, I remember when I was very small, my mum watching the shows that she'd recorded, you know, that were coming out sort of 4 a.m, 5 a.m. So yeah, the OU's always been a really important part of my life, and it's great to be back here studying again.
Thank you. And a quick shout out to the guys that help us in the workshops. We've got Amanda, we've got Fred, we've got Nikki, and we've got Lucy. So when you come along to any of our workshops, when you come along to any of the Adobe sessions, they're our experts that they're in the background sharing ideas and answering your questions as we go through. So keep an eye on our calendar coming up. We've got lots of things coming up over the next year. So we're going to come on into the final session in a moment, and what we want you to have a think about is, what do you want from Student Hub Live? So we're here to basically support students, do what you need, deliver it as well as we can. But as we've said already, we need your ideas. So we're going to watch a short video. What's important about Student Hub Live? That's going to run for a few minutes. So have a think about what you'd like to see in Student Hub Live, and then you get a chance to put your ideas to us after this.
The Open University is such a unique place because of the way we deliver our teaching, and sometimes when you are studying at a distance, you can feel quite alone, you can feel quite isolated.
Student Hub Live sessions give students the chance therefore to interact with a wide range of other students outside their own subject area and across the Open University.
Student Hub Live has been a key part of my student journey since I started here at the Open University, and everything that they offer is just so essential to students.
Whenever I've been on the hot desk, I've witnessed the overwhelming support that students have for each other. And I always see in the chat the bonds that form over our shared experience of being OU students, whether that's the nervousness of opening those TMA results, trying to prepare for a tutorial, or just talking about the study snacks that keep us going.
I think Student Hub Live is absolutely wonderful because it brings academic community, it brings students together in a light-hearted, personable way of chatting with each other, learning those key study skills that underlie university, and brings less of a distance in a distance university.
A recent piece of feedback we had from a student has really resonated with me. Paraphrasing, it said that the Student Hub Live was a great team which helped students to help themselves. And I think that's the best description of what Student Hub Live does.
From my perspective, Student Hub Live is relevant for students in so many different ways. Distance learning can be really lonely, and so Student Hub Lives brings not just one face, but many faces to distance learning. So you might get to meet your lecturers, you might get to meet academic experts, you might get to meet other students, and if you're lucky, you might get to meet pets. I was really hoping that mine would come in today, but I'm not quite sure where he is.
The practical how to do study at the OU, how to learn at the OU, is such an important element of Student Hub Live too, as is the opportunity to grow and develop academic skills.
And we see that students benefit so much from the Student Hub Live output because the resources there are tailor-made for them, and the tutors that are involved and the academics that are involved know exactly what demands there are on OU students, and it's very different from being a student in a brick university.
I know that our students watch the recordings, and it's not just because they missed it, it's because they want to go back and watch it again, and they want to be listening When you watch live, you get to be involved. So you might be in the chat box, you might be completing a form, you might be completing some kind of word cloud, but you can go back and watch it, and then you can take more detailed notes maybe and really think about, okay, or maybe you're in a different place. So you're like, I was doing great, now I'm struggling. I'm going to go back and watch that Student Hub Live bit about whatever it was that's bothering me, and I can get some more ideas.
The other really advantageous thing about participating in Student Hub Live for students is that it gives us the opportunity to be able to share ideas, tried and tested ideas often, that can really work. And in being able to express those ideas to other people, you're not only helping them, but you're also articulating very complex ideas in your own words, which again is another very important academic skill to develop and rehearse.
The benefits of Student Hub Live are incredible. Not only do we have thousands of students that have accessed Student Hub Live because it provides information, guidance and support and a community. They're all really key benefits.
I fully credit Student Hub Live with being able to reach a first class classification on my open degree. It's not just about the study skills, it's being able to connect with students who are experiencing the same journey as you.
You can get quite teary, people saying all nice things about you. So, but yeah, Student Hub Live's been a real impact. It's been really important to a range of people. But as I say, we really want to focus on what it is that students want, what it is that is going to help you on your journey. Has anybody put journey in yet? No. Help you on your journey through the OU. So have a look at the ticker questions there now. What are your suggestions? What sort of things would you like to see? What would you like us to introduce? We've got a few things here. We're going to have a look at our You Asked For, We Did session. So we've got some things that you said to us before. So, Margaret, I'm going to do a double act with Margaret on this one. So, I haven't numbered the pages, so and my glasses aren't strong enough to see if they're the right order. So, in our feedback, at the end of every Student Hub Live session, we ask you for feedback. We ask you to fill out a form. We take that form really importantly, and that drives some of the things that we do. So, for example, some of the feedback we got was, please do more evening sessions. I work, so I miss many of the wonderful events. Please, can we have more evening freshers sessions? A few more evening sessions, please. So we had the similar comments a few times. So, Margaret, what did we do?
We put on 12% more evening sessions. We already had quite a lot anyway, because a lot of the sessions that we ran at 11 o'clock, we repeated at 7 o'clock, but we increased that last year to another 12%. So a bit of an increase there, but also there were already a lot already. And it's just making people aware as well. So saying if you do 11 o'clock one, we're also doing this at 7 o'clock. So that's a bit of awareness, there's a bit of actual more. So we did quite a bit for that one.
Yeah. Absolutely, because it's quite difficult for us to know what's the best times, because some students like to study in the day, some like the evening, some like weekends. So we try and be as responsive as possible. So the next set of comments, I would like more support for neurodivergent students. We are left behind and haven't got any support. Advice for neurodivergent people to develop good study habits. Events including other neurodivergent students, and an awareness session on neurodivergent students and the barriers. So those were your comments, and Margaret, what did we do?
Well, we had 4 community events where Isabella got in a student with neurodiversity, and lots of good sharing went on, and also a live broadcast where she had lots of guests who shared their thoughts. And we've got lots more of that going on this year as well. So lots of stuff going on with the neurodivergent community. And if anybody wants to be a guest on Isabella, do put an email into us, because we are looking for more guests. So please, a little bit of a plug there.
Absolutely. Yeah. We definitely want to get more students involved. It's done remotely, so you can do it from home, and the technology is not that difficult. We can help you through all that. So if you want to come and join us, definitely want more of you to be guests. The next set of comments, Can we have more events about building resilience and having mental health and wellbeing support, reading skills, particular challenges and motivations facing students of different ages, and create a session for problem solving?
Yeah.
So that's what you asked for.
We did it all. That's all I can say to that one.
You did them all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So some of the sessions that are coming up this year are as a direct response to you asking for those sessions.
Yeah.
And we try and balance those that are popular with those that people ask for. So not all of our sessions are the largest of sessions. The sessions we run for carers, so students who are also carers, we have around 30 to 35 people that come and join us for those sessions. So it's a fairly small group, but it's really valuable for that group. So it doesn't have to be a massive requirement for us to put a session on. So next few things you asked about, like to know more about generative AI. Wish I had opportunity to connect and chat with fellow students, like sessions where I could develop skills such as reading graphics and fundamental maths, and I miss sessions aimed at students for STEM. So Margaret.
Well, Rob's been doing some amazing sessions on the generative AI. I think he's done 3 up to now, and we've got more planned. We've got this new format where called Connect Live, where it isn't, there's a PowerPoint, but there's also an interviewee as well.
Yep.
So we've got a kind of like a mixed one compared to this sort of format and a PowerPoint format, kind of a mixed section. We're having more informal social events, so we've got a few. I think we've got 5 this year,
Yep.
and we're planning some sessions on maths and logic because it's something that's sort of dear to my heart because that's where I started from, in sort of maths and science. So very much we've got several sessions on that to help people out with that. So again, you asked, we did.
Absolutely, and it's great to see students wanting to get more involved in the social side, because we used to have one a year, Christmas party, and then we found we had people popping up and they were coming to absolutely everything. They weren't necessarily wanting to come to the topic, they wanted to be there in the group, they wanted the chat. Everybody's welcome, we love having everybody there, but enabled us to turn around and say, well, let's have something that's not formally associated with study skills. We can just have something that's just a bit of fun. And so we're bringing more of those in. So that's some of your previous feedback. Give us some ideas now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a quick chat about some of these new sessions that are coming up. And then we're going to come back and pick your brains. What is it that you want us to introduce? We've got a couple of spare slots for this year where we might be able to pop things in. So let's see if you can give us a really good idea on what should be in those slots. What is it you'd really like us to spend some time working on? So Margaret, you mentioned there's a maths session coming.
Yeah.
I'm quite interested in that one,
Okay.
maths and science. What are you going to do in that session?
I don't know. When I've written it, I'll tell you. It's really looking at some of the basics that some people just, they've been an OU student for ages and then suddenly they're asked to do a percentage. They did it last when they were 15.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just that sort of very basic maths that people just, think they ought to know and are a bit embarrassed to ask people. So that's sort of where we're going to be looking at there and sort of what is algebra, that type of thing.
So not necessarily aimed at STEM students.
No, not just STEM students, but...
So it's going to be for anybody who has to use
Yeah,
science or
yeah,
maths
yeah,
as part
yeah,
of their work. And Isabella, am I right in thinking we're designing a new group for disabled students?
Yes.
So what's that going to entail? Because I'm guessing it's not quite ready yet, but
No.
what's going to be in that?
So I haven't got all the guests sorted for this yet because I had quite a lot of people come forward for the neurodiverse community. And I'm not saying that neurodiverse students don't have other disabilities, because we may well have them. Because I think what we noticed when we were doing the sessions last year was there was quite a few people that were saying, I've got ADHD, I've also got something else, I've got these other things as well. So we said, well, we don't want to just limit people to only being neurodiverse and that support, because there were some people that were sending feedback saying, What do I do about the fact I've got a chronic health problem? I've got really bad back pain, or I get migraines. I was talking to a student yesterday, said, I'll get migraines and that's it. I'm going to be wiped out for a couple of days and I'm not going to be able to do anything. So we thought we'd introduce sessions sort of more widely for the disabled community, because going back, we had that data earlier that we've got more students than any other university with a declared disability. And just to remind you, if you declare a disability, you're not going to be judged. Nobody's going to turn around and say, oh, you've got a disability. It's there to put support in place. The Disabled Students Allowance, I've got the right term.
I think that's the right thing, yeah.
It's not necessarily about just grabbing money, but students have shared with us what they've had. It's paid for from the Disabled Students Allowance. That, like Karen was talking about the table thing, that we've had students who've said that they've had a particular table, or they've had a special bit for their chair or something that they hadn't even thought of could be useful. So we're going to be introducing, I think we've got 3, for the disabled community, and then it will be people sharing. So it will be similar in a way to the neurodiverse community, which is in what we call the Connect Live format. So we've got so there is a PowerPoint, so you know what's coming, because that was something we've had in feedback from some people. They do like to have an idea about what's coming up in a workshop. So we'll always share the slides in advance, but like this, we planned, but we're not scripted. Student Hub Live is not scripted. It never was. And I remember when I was Karen, when I was your guest at the start, and we did all this planning, and I said to you at the end, I didn't cover that. And you went, it doesn't matter. We covered what we were supposed to cover. And I think that's that learning thing. So if you're interested, if you're a disabled student and you've got ideas that you want to share, either book to come along. I think the first session's in December. Or send us an email to, what was the email address, Jacob?
It's studenthub@open.ac.uk.
Fantastic, because I always forget it. Brilliant. But yeah, we welcome, and even if we haven't got a slot for you where we can have you as an on-camera guest, we do want people to share those ideas. So we did that with high intensity study. I had Kit with resilience. I didn't have a guest. Technically speaking, I'm not supposed to have a guest for really understanding questions, but I had a student come forward who said, you know what, I've got things, can I share? So there's going to be a little bit of a slot tomorrow where students are going to be sharing some of their ideas, because we want to know what works for you. We know, well, I was going to say we know what works for us, Karen. Do we know what works for us? Yeah, okay. We know what works for us. Should we do that in those little bunny quotes? Dark chocolate works for us, and he didn't do it. Yes. I got chocolate through without a buzzer. Sorry, I'm such a child. I can't sit still. But anyway, there you go. That reminds me, one of the neurodiverse community sessions, there was these fantastic things that could be put on the floor that you could put your feet on.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
I meant to get them because they sounded like such. There was some kind of child's play thing, but they were really, really useful. I think it was Natasha when she shared in hers about it.
Yeah, I remember.
And they were great, and they looked fun. Anyway, we get distracted. But yeah, did I answer your question? Yeah, what we're doing with the disabled community sessions, and you mentioned about what you asked for, we did motivation. Yeah. We've got sessions coming up about keeping motivation, because that bit, you're coming up to Christmas and you're going, I can't be bothered, or in the new year. We used to do ones, didn't we, Karen? How can you keep going in the new year? Because we were both like, I hate this time of year. I used to be so bad when we were planning those, because I was like, I don't know. I can't come up with anything encouraging to say about this time of year.
Well, so we're going to go back to Heidi now, because we're going to see if anybody's come up with any good ideas for sessions that you'd like to see. Maybe the things we already do that you don't know about, or maybe there are some really good ideas that we can fit into those lots. And the more challenging, the better. So easy ones for me, challenging ones for Margaret and Isabella.
Jeez, thanks.
So Heidi, what sort of ideas have we got?
Loads, so many brilliant suggestions coming in, Rob, on the chat. So Tazzy says, an annual birthday party for sure. So doing a show like this but every year, which I think is a really nice idea. Pauline says, bingo sessions if possible, please. Melissa says, more fun events because it gives me a break from studies. Pauline has also said, following on from bingo sessions, a disco and singing. So I don't know how on earth we'd facilitate that, but that's an interesting one we can put to the team. Linda says, anything social. although the study skill sessions are fabulous too. Joshua says, it'd be interesting to see whether any famous people have studied with the OU and hearing their experiences. It's interesting you should say that, Joshua. So I used to be alumni engagement manager for the Open University, and there's lots and lots of famous people who studied with the OU, including Joan Armour-Trading and Sir Lenny Henry and many, many, many more, loads of politicians. So Lindsay says, I'd like to see a top 10 tips on things like note-taking, study skills, setting up TMAs, prioritising, and a tutor's top 10 tips for getting better marks. So that's a really good one, Lindsay. Thanks for sharing that. Tazzy has said a Pride event in June, please, Student Hub Live. Andrea says a session on or including Turnitin. Nils said, I would love to see some sessions on stepping up from undergraduate to postgraduate study. And then Michelle said, I would love to see more sessions on stepping up from level 1 to level 2, so within undergraduate study, and what it looks like and what to expect. And then Mark, who is one of our chat moderators, says, actually, there's a session on this topic on the 24th of October, which is great.
There is indeed.
Karen says, I like the idea of study-ready sessions. Charlotte says, more sessions for access students, please. And then a few others calling for more sessions for students in our neurodiverse community and on mental health and well-being. So lots and lots of fabulous suggestions.
Excellent, and we're going to be taking those away and we'll be going through those. And yeah, you're absolutely right. We've got a few sessions coming up. We've got a session looking at moving from access to level 1. We've got a session looking at moving from level 1 to level 2 and from level 2 to level 3. So those are coming up later in the month, so those were there. And we've had somebody from the university approach us asking about exactly the question about starting your PhD study. I wonder if I can find somebody who's just starting a PhD that might like to host that one with me. So maybe, Heidi, there's an opportunity there for us to grab some of your experiences and some of your top tips as we go through.
Love that.
Excellent. So Jacob, anything else that you've noticed? Any suggestions there that you would add?
Well, Karen said, oh yes, for the maths session. So we've already got one person coming to those. But yeah, I'm not strong on maths myself, so any practice I get is always good. And it may be one of those things that you come away from the session and you're like, oh, do you know what? I've just thought of something that would have been really good to suggest. Well, just because the chat closes doesn't mean that you can stop chatting to us. So do email us, studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we'd love to get back to you. I mean, it could be suggestions for social events, it could be suggestions for my next snack. Either way, I'm happy.
And we've got the widget there, Jacob, that's looking at how people have engaged with Student Hub Live. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, so I'll just
caught him out.
So 52% people say they're regulars to Student Hub Live, which is fantastic.
Excellent.
Great for you to be coming back. Some have attended many SHL sessions, so dipping out in and out what you like, that's how we like it. And you've attended a few, well, hopefully many more. And 5% of people said this is their first time. Well, that's fantastic. Hopefully our birthday celebration has been a really good time for you to join in. But as Rob and everyone has said, there's so much more Student Hub Live to come. So definitely check out the calendar and drop in and out of what suits you. And yeah, do send those suggestions in if there's anything that you'd like to see. Now, what I really need help with from Margaret, Isabella and Karen is that this game of bingo will never end. I'm just going to be following Rob around indefinitely around the campus every time he speaks now because of all these types of words. So we need to end this bingo game.
Yes.
So we've got 3 questions to help me end the bingo game. If we get them right, it ends. If they're not right, rest of the year I'm going to have to follow around the campus. Pressure. So, anyone chime in? 3 questions. Finish the sentence. Stop raving in there.
Library.
Some Student Hub Live history there.
Okay.
The best way to settle a philosophy debate is...
through boxing.
Yes! And finally, our favourite Welsh word...
Borrida. No, not
No.
Down.
Oh, no.
What?
It's a bit of a...
PAWB.
What's Welsh for chocolate?
Poppity ping.
property pig.
And I want to know where the best dog cafe is in Carmarthen, because I live near Carmarthen.
Do tell us, and we'll do a student hub session, a student dog live.
Yeah, I bet it's that one we went to for lunch the other day in the middle of town.
But I'm going to accept the bingo game has ended, so Rob, you got away with it.
I've got away with it.
We're not going to be following you around binging our buzzer.
I was going to take the batteries out of your buzzer anyway. So fantastic. So guys, I'd just like to say it's been a pleasure being here with you today. Nerve-wracking for me, because when you're a presenter with all the other presenters, you just don't know how it's going, but it's been fantastic. Thank you, Heidi, for all of your support. And Jacob, it's great to have you back for this session. Thank you for winding us up. And thank you all for joining us for this celebration. And we've just...
We actually had a competition for the best design for Student Hub Live 10th anniversary cake. And we chose this one by Caitlin M. Unfortunately, we can't have the real thing, so my wife's been busy.
And she's made a cake for us all.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Join us for the next 10 years. Look out for, it's tomorrow your next session, isn't it, Isabella?
It is indeed.
Look out for Isabella's session. If you've not done a live, one of our study sessions before, come along and join us. But it's been great to spend this time with you, and we look forward to seeing you in sessions. So just a few messages as we go out, and I'd just like to say goodbye and thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Happy anniversary, Student Hub Live. 10 years old this year. Congratulations.
Happy 10th anniversary, Student Hub Live. What an amazing 10 years you've had, and I'm so excited to see where the next 10 years leads us. But please keep doing what you're doing.
A massive congratulations on 10 years worth of great resources for our OU students.
Congratulations, Student Hub Live, on reaching your 10-year anniversary. Who would have thought when we started out that we would get to 10 years of creating such an inclusive, wonderful, supportive, fun environment for students?
Happy 10th anniversary to Student Hub Live. Many congratulations on all the amazing things you do with our students, and here's to the next 10 years.
Student Hub Live, it is my great pleasure to wish you a happy 10th birthday, and I look forward to working with you for the years to come.
I've only been working for Student Hub Live for 3 years myself, but I know it's been going for 10 years, so I'm going to say happy birthday, Student Hub Live.
Wishing Student Hub Live a happy 10th anniversary, and I hope it's chocolate filled.
Reaching the 10th anniversary milestone feels amazing. I'm really proud of the part that I've played in Student Hub Live, and I'm looking forward to another 10 years of sharing support, laughter and study buddies.
Happy 10th anniversary to Student Hub Live. It is such a pleasure to be part of the team.
I would like to wish Student Hub Live a very happy 10th anniversary, and long may Student Hub Live continue to help students build virtual friendships and build that confidence for them to succeed.
It's fantastic we've made it to 10 years. We're very, very proud of that, and I want to wish a wonderfully happy birthday.
Happy 10th anniversary, Student Hub Live. I'm so pleased to have been part of something really special and unique that is making a difference to so many OU students and members of staff.
I'm proud, I'm delighted to note the unique contribution that Student Hub Live makes and has made across the last 10 years. I want to congratulate everyone involved with Student Hub Live for reaching this important 10-year milestone. You've also been a shining example of how we innovate and use technology at the OU to support our distance learners. Thank you all for your amazing work and contribution, and here's to the next 10 years.